it will be tough on China or China hawks. TD Cowen is out with a new analysis based on these choices. And the analyst there writes this, more, if not all, of the Chinese companies that trade on U.S.-based exchanges will be delisted. He writes this, the argument is that the U.S. should not finance companies that are unfairly competing against U.S. companies that could pose a military risk. That this could be an expansion of the list of Chinese companies that are off limits, but we view a complete delisting as more likely. Michael Lee, I thought this was a powerful research report this morning from Cowen. The second one, he says, is a ban on investment in Chinese companies. He says the flip side is to prevent institutional and retail investors that are U.S. citizens from investing directly in Chinese companies, regardless of where they are traded. The bottom line here is that it is the law in China that the military comes first. That is military-civil fusion. And any company, if it has anything to do with advancing the Chinese military, will do so. So all these companies that you invest in on U.S. exchanges that are Chinese companies, they are tied to the Chinese military, Michael Lee. Do you expect this analyst to be right, that there will be a delisting of these Chinese stocks?
Maria, yes. I think there's a day of reckoning coming. And additionally, most of these Chinese companies do not need to meet U.S. accounting standards and do not need to release the auditor reports, which is insane. Why are companies from China getting this special treatment that American companies do not? Why are we funding our opposition? Why are we funding the greatest threat to our country's well-being? So, look, I think a headline like this, a report like this, couldn't be more timely as Trump is staffing up his cabinet, and why you are seeing Marco Rubio as your Secretary of State. He has been a champion for this issue. They wanted to add, the MSCI World wanted to add Chinese stocks to some of their index funds, which are in United States government workers' retirement plans. Okay, and he fought hard to have that removed.
That's
so
right.
I think this is just the beginning of, how we go to war with China without a shot being fired.
Yeah, and then the analyst is also saying, we believe this would require legislation, though there is regulatory discretion here. The other thing to mention, Cheryl, is that there are tougher restrictions on Chinese real estate investments. There's that, too. This is politically popular, the analyst writes. The idea is to bar Chinese citizens and companies from buying real estate in the United States. This was originally focused on real estate near military installations, but Cheryl, he believes it's going to be expanded to apply to all real estate.
And here we are, another red day for Alibaba. A lot of these Chinese stocks have a lot of risk. You can say some of these Chinese stocks don't have exposure in the U.S. Well, if they get delisted, then what? What are we going to say then? Oh, what a terrible, terrible mistake in getting into these Chinese stocks. We don't want to admit it, but the reality is we definitely missed out on huge gains with U.S. tech stocks. There is still a possibility of a delisting. You can say, oh, they're just bluffing. Okay. When the time comes, what are we going to say then? Nothing we can say. That's why it's like, why do we put up with this suffering? Why do we put it up? Knowing there is a risk of it delisting, whereas if we invested in U.S. stocks, we don't have to worry about that problem. One less problem to worry about. Alibaba and most of the Chinese stocks, they don't trade on fundamentals. They don't trade on PE ratios or how undervalued it is. Alibaba has been doing share buybacks, dividends. It's oversold. Doesn't matter. Look at Alibaba is under $100. When it went up to $117, did you think that people thought it would go below 100? No. Did people get in above 100? Yes. People are bag holding. New bag holders created every day, every week, every month, every single year. This would be 5 years of being in a bear market. They went IPO, 10 years ago in 2014? 10 years later, and the stock is still trading at the same exact price. Look at every other US tech stocks. It has gone up. So the question is, do you still believe in Alibaba, or are we just living in this delusional world thinking that maybe one day when, I don't know, when we're all dead, 50 years, that then it'll go to 500, or we'll never even see 500 because it'll be delisted. And you can say, well, you can still trade it in the Hong Kong market. Oh yeah? And you think the price will still be the same? I don't think so.